All right, so this is the problem. Count prefix and suffix pairs. You're given a 0 indexed string array titled words. So you could see here that we're passing an array called words into the function. Let's define a Boolean function is prefix and suffix that takes two strings, string 1 and string 2. I actually didn't end up defining that function, but you could totally do that if you want as well. I just built it right into the function. Is prefix and suffix, you put string 1 in, you put string 2 in. We'll go ahead and we'll create the function today just so everyone can see us do it properly. Returns true if string 1 is both a suffix and a prefix of string 2, and false otherwise. So for example, if string 1 is ABA, string 2 is ABABA, it's true because ABA is a prefix, so you can see it's the prefix ABA, and it is also a suffix. And if the first string is ABC and the second string is ABCD, it's not true because the first three characters are ABC and the last three characters are not ABC. So it has the same prefix but not a suffix, so it ended up being false. So return an integer denoting the number of index pairs, so I and j, such that I is less than j, and the function that we create passing in I and j is true. So what I'm going to do is I'm using j as the word I'm testing, and I'm going to be using I as the word, as the prefix and suffix. And so I want to give everybody the opportunity to go ahead and solve it on their own. If you feel comfortable solving this problem on your own, feel free to do that. If you don't, then feel free to just follow me. But let's go ahead and just take a look at the examples just for a little bit more clarity. So if the words that are input are these ones here, the output should be 4. Because in this example, the counted index pairs are when I is 0, so when I is targeting this A, and j is 1, so j is targeting this ABA string. We run the function we're going to create on words I and words j, and it's true because words j, prefix is A and suffix is A. So you get true there. Then when I is 0, j is 2, words I is going to be this one, words j is going to be this one, and same thing, starts with A, ends with A, so it's true. When I is 0 and j is 3, same thing, starts and ends. And when I is 1 and j is 2, we have ABA, so prefix, ABA as the suffix, and that would be true. Nothing else works, and so we have the answer is 4. If anyone doesn't understand that, feel free to just reach out to me, but it's pretty self-explanatory. And then we'll just jump down to example 3 here. You can see that this is never going to be like, if this is words I and this is words j right here, there's no way that it's even possible. So in this example, the only valid index pair is when I is 0 and j is 1. And so you can see that we're checking every I and j, but I has to be less than j. So we can't compare like this j up against this I, because that would be true, actually. And then you can see that the length of the words, so the length of the array that we're passing into here, is going to be anywhere from 1 to 50, which is very, very small when we're talking about inputs in data structure and algorithm problems. The length of each word is going to be anywhere from 1 to 10, which again is super, super small. And then words I consists of only English, lowercase English letters, which makes it very easy because you don't have to make any changes to the word. So, does anyone have any questions before we get started? So I already went ahead and brought the function over here. I'm going to go ahead and just take a couple notes here. So one thing is we need a variable to keep track of how many pairs. How many pairs containing both prefix and suffix. We're also going to need a function. So I'm going to go ahead and build the function directly into this function here. Since as far as we know, this is the only function that's going to be using this function, the internal function. So count prefix suffix pairs is the only function that's going to be using is prefix and suffix. If I knew that this is prefix and suffix was going to be used by multiple functions, then I would probably take it outside of this function. So we will create the function to check if each word contains prefix and suffix. We have our variable. And then we just have to iterate over the words, right? We have to iterate over the words. And so we'll do iterate over the words. This is going to be I. We're going to iterate over the words starting from I plus 1, which is j. And if the function is prefix and suffix, returns true. Increment count. So this is the very simple algorithm that I have, and then at the end we'll just return the count. And so I'll go ahead and create the function later. Right now we'll go ahead and we'll just create the basic logic, because this function is only ever going to be executed down on this line. So we'll go ahead and write the function when we get down to this line. So the first thing we need to do is we need a variable that keeps track. So I'm going to go ahead and say let count equals 0. We want it to start at 0. And then I want to iterate over the word. So I want to iterate over the array starting with A, then moving to this, then moving to this, then moving to this, and that's the last one. So we'll go ahead and we'll create a for loop. We'll say let I equal 0 because we want it to start at position 0. We'll say while I is less than words dot length, and then we'll increment just 1. So this is saying we're going to start at position 0. We're going to go until I is equal to the length of the array. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Once I equals 4, we're going to stop this loop right here. And for each iteration of the loop, we're going to increment I by 1. Let's go ahead and post this logic inside here. So we're going to iterate over again because we need to compare this word to this word. Then we want to compare this word to this word. And then we want to compare this word to this word. And then once we've made it to the end of the list with j, then we want to increment I to the next word. So I will be this one, j will be here, I will be this one, j will be here, and we'll move through it like that. So we'll say let j equals I plus 1. We always want to start j just one position ahead of I. While j is less than words dot length, we'll also increment j by 1. Now something I'm going to do here is I don't like repeating code at all, ever. And so I know this is a small problem, but you could see I repeated this words dot length twice here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, since we know the length of this array is going to stay the same and we're not modifying the array in place, we could just create a const. length right here. And then if the function is prefix and suffix returns true, just increment count. So we'll go ahead and we'll say if is prefix and suffix with words I and words J passed into it. If this returns true, then we'll go ahead and we'll increment our count. And this should work here. And last but not least, we'll return our count. So the only thing we have to do now, we have everything basically built, but we do have to create this function here. And so we'll go ahead and we'll just create a function called is prefix and suffix that takes our I and our J, or our word 1 and word 2, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go ahead and call it just I and J because it's easier for me, but you could call it whatever you want to call it. And then we're just going to, I guess we could just return. So we want to check J. So if J is ABA and we want to see if I can be used as a prefix and a suffix on J, then there's some built-in functions for this. So we could say return J starts with I and J ends with I. And that should be good. That should be good. So we're just checking if J starts with I and if J ends with I. And if this is true and this is true, then this whole expression is going to be true. It's going to return true, and it's going to increment our count by 1. So, does anyone have any thoughts on this? It's looking like that should be pretty solid. I know Toya, you're the only one who's actually subscribed to the boot camp, so you're the only one that could actually unmute right now, which is totally fine. If someone, everyone else, you're going to be able to view, watch, listen, but actually hopping into the code editor, getting involved is not going to be possible. If you are interested, feel free to just pop up to the Start Here channel. You'll see the link here, and if I click it, you could see we just have our free trial, so you could try it out. Actually, typically I use this live share link to invite the other coders, like Toya, you're one of our members, so I would create this live share link and I would invite you into the code editor, and I have extra files just for you to code along with me here. But you didn't unmute, you didn't say anything, so I don't even know if you're there. But you've been to our Monday through Thursday events, the HTML. Oh, okay, there you go. What's up?
I'm here, but this is another thing that I'm so totally confused about. So I have no idea. I mean, yeah, I haven't quite learned or understood how to think through these problems. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
so I need help with that.
yeah. Yeah, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. I do see someone else hopped up to the co-working space and is working on it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and test this code. I'll see if it works. And if you have any questions, just let me know. But I know you're on the newer side, so no sweat at all.
Okay.
Yeah. And then if I go ahead and run, we get 4, 2, 0. And it looks like we're looking for 4, 2, and 0. So that should work. Let me go ahead and copy and paste this into LeetCode and test it out. So we'll run it. Looks like it was accepted. Submit, and boom. So as far as runtime goes, it beat 91.82% of the other users. Memory, not so much, which is totally fine. This is good. This is a very, very simple problem. So Yeah. Yeah. Normally I'll share like two or three solutions just so you could see different approaches, but this one I was like, the other solutions, one of them was a hash map. I was going to use a hash map. Um, and then the other one was a try, which I'm like, I'm not even. This just, for a problem with constraints this small. What's up, Fernando? Let me, I think Fernando, let me give you some access here because I know you're on our senior tier. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah, I can't wait till we get over to Zoom and get away from Discord because that's gonna make everything so much easier. Fernando, you should be able to talk now. If you can't, then just hop off and hop back on, and you should be good to go. Did you solve this one, Fernando? Though.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
Hi, Jim. Yeah, I solved this one. It's the same with the same it's the same algorithm, almost the same. Just its prefix and suffix. It's the same.
Yeah, yeah. Did you think of any other solutions? The other solutions just seemed so just. It seemed like overcomplicate the problem. You know.
Yeah, I think for this is the version one of the problem. There's a version two.
Yeah, a hard
For
one,
this
right?
version, yeah, probably I didn't use it, but I think probably KM, KMP algorithm
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna work. It's like not more Sprat algorithm. It's an string algorithm. Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. Cool. Yeah, string problems could be challenging. Did you do the hard one yet?
Do you mean the second one?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay.
Just I was still analyzing this KMP algorithm.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I want to start doing a medium data structure and algorithm event. I'm just waiting for someone else to step up and take over the other events I'm doing, at least Monday through Thursday. But for now, I'm going to be doing Parker and I are both teaching a class on Monday. I'm teaching the full scale projects on Tuesday. Parker and I are both doing a class on Wednesday. I'm doing the full scale projects on Thursday. Both Monday and Wednesday, when Parker and I are both teaching, those are more introductory stuff. So Parker's doing like intro HTML and CSS, and I'm doing just responsive websites, kind of like the next level up intermediate. And on Wednesday, he's doing introductory JavaScript, and I'm doing like the next level up, just a little bit more advanced stuff, actually working with the DOM and all that. And then every Friday, I'm going to do this data structure and algorithms thing. But I'm just keeping on Fridays, I'm keeping it simple, just easy problems for now. But I do want to start doing the mediums eventually, which is going to be really nice. Toya, I know you're super new. Um,
Yes.
so you're I would recommend to you, if you can,
Mhm.
try to do um, at least one easy problem like a week. Like just focus on one problem per week. Like right now I'll focus on like one hard problem per week. And sometimes it'll take me all week, sometimes it'll take me like 2 weeks because I don't want to just do one solution. I want to have like two or three or four or five solutions and look at how they connect and how they differ, which one is better. And so I want to look at the every problem from every angle. That's sort of what you should be doing with the easy ones right now. Like if you do it with one solution, that's fine. You're analyzing the problem and you're coming up with one solution. But if you're able to look at it from multiple different perspectives and look at multiple different solutions for the same problem, you're going to learn this stuff a lot faster. But when I was brand new and I first started doing these easy problems, sometimes they would take me hours. I would just be looking at it for hours, and I'd be doing tons of research, and it was just like, it was dreadful, you know, like it was so hard to just push through and just force myself to do this. But then after a couple of weeks, I started moving from like 3 or 4 hours down to 1 hour, and then down to like 30 minutes, and then 15 minutes, and then 5 minutes, you know. So the more you do it, the better you're gonna get at solving these problems. And these problems help you think through everything in computer science. So data structures and algorithms are everywhere. This stuff is super vital. It's gonna help you get a job, because a lot of these are the questions that they're asking during interviews and that sort of thing. So yeah, just try to do them. They're really important. I wouldn't say they're more important than actually getting your hands dirty and building projects, but they're right up there. Like, you need a good
Oh,
balance, you know, and you're building
so can
projects with
you?
us, so.
Yeah. Can you kind of give me I guess a walkthrough on what, as somebody that's brand new, what is your thought process, or how did you kind of figure out where to start and how to build your code? Like, what is the thought process when looking at this particular problem?
So with this one, if you look at the problem here, you can see you're given a zero indexed string array words. So we're given, you know what an array is, right?
Yes. Hmm.
So what we're given is this. We're given an array of strings, right?
Okay.
So we know that we're gonna get this. And then we need to define a Boolean function. So we need to define a function. You know what a function is, right?
Yes.
So if we say function one, if I define a function here, it's a Boolean function. So we need this function to return true or false.
Okay. Hmm.
So boom, I know that I need to create that. And we're going to call this function is prefix and suffix. So I could replace this function one with is prefix and suffix. And it takes two strings, string one and string two. So the arguments we're passing into it is string one and string two. You see how I'm kind of just like following exactly what
You
they're asking
building
for
on,
and just
yeah.
jotting it
Okay.
down. So we know that the main function, count prefix suffix pairs, is taking an array of strings called words. So we know we're getting this, right?
Hmm.
And then is prefix and suffix, the function that we're creating, this one, returns true if string 1 is both a prefix and a suffix of string 2. So if this first string is a prefix of string 2 and it's a suffix of string 2, then we're going to return true. So let's just say that this is our first string and our second string is this. So if this is the string and this is the string that we pass into this function, is it going to return true or false?
Okay. You said if, say it one more time for me. If.
So this function right here, what we need
Hmm.
this function to do is, here, let me write it easier. So if string 1 actually, let's just say if string 2 begins with string 1 and ends with string 1, then
Oh, okay.
we want to return true.
Okay. So then it will be
Else,
true.
if it doesn't, we want to return false, right?
Okay.
So if this is our string 2, does this
Hmm.
string begin and end with string 1?
Yeah. So that will be true.
Yes. So that would be true. Now, let's say that this is our string 1 and this is our string 2. Does string 2 begin and end with string 1?
Yes.
No, it doesn't.
Cause
See,
you okay? Cause you have a double A instead of a single A.
yeah, well, we're talking about this whole string. So
Oh,
the
okay.
string 2, begin with A B A B A?
Oh, okay, I see. No, no,
Nah,
I see what you're
nah.
saying.
So it doesn't. But if
Okay.
string one is ABA and string two is this, string two begins with
So
ABA
then that would be true.
and
Okay.
it ends with ABA. So
I
basically, what
see.
we want to do inside this if statement is we
Mhm.
want to check to see if string 2 starts with string 1 and string 2 ends with string 1. So there's actually built-in functions in JavaScript for strings. So I could go ahead and I could just say we're testing string 2 and we're testing if string 2 starts with, which is one of the methods. And we also need string 2 to end with string 1. So we can go ahead and just say starts with string 1 and ends with string 1. And now if this returns true, then we know that this string 2 begins and ends with it. There's other ways you could test to see if it begins and ends, but this is the simplest way. There's already, you don't want to recreate anything. If there's already a method built into strings in JavaScript that tests for this or that handles this, you just want to use that built-in stuff. I used to recreate stuff for some reason. Well, I used to recreate things because I wanted to understand how they worked beneath the surface. Like I wanted to understand how functions worked internally, and so I would recreate things just to understand it. Um,
Yeah,
but
but this helps. This breakdown just kind of helps me to understand how to think through and kind of piece it together.
yeah, yeah,
One.
yep. So you want to work through the problem statement, like all this right here. You want to work through it line by line. So like you're given a zero index string array words. Do you understand this? If you do understand this, then move on to the next sentence. If you don't understand this, unpack this. Maybe you don't
Okay.
maybe you don't know what a string array is. Maybe you don't know what zero indexed means. Just take the sentences just one step at a time. And if there's
Okay.
anything within these sentences that you don't understand, then just break it down. Then just go down some rabbit holes and dig a little bit deeper. And the more you unpack sentences that you don't understand or statements that you don't understand, the more you're gonna understand everything. So like, what if you don't understand what a Boolean function is? Just go to Google or ChatGPT and say, what's a Boolean function? If you don't know what a
Mhm.
prefix is or a suffix is, just go down rabbit holes and figure out things. And just the most important part of solving problems is understanding the problem.
Right.
Because
Okay.
if you don't understand the problem, you're going to start coding up a solution that might be solving a problem that is not even the problem you're trying to solve. You'll end up with a
Right.
solution that's just for a different problem. So the most important part is just understanding the problem. But then you could start like refactoring. So like string 2 starts with string 1 and string 2 ends with string 1. Do we really need this if else statement? This is either going to be true or false. So if this is true, we just want to return that. And if it's false, we just want to return that. So we could literally just cut all this stuff out and just say return that. Same exact thing. Because if this is true and this is true, we're going to return true. And if this is false, we're going to return false. And if this is true and this is false, we're going to return false. And if they're both false, we're going to return false. So only when these are both true will we ever return true. So we can cut out all that conditional logic and just simplify it like that. This does the same exact thing as the if statements. The if statements just help you understand the conditional logic a little bit better. And
Okay.
then, yeah. And then if you read here, return an integer. So we're looking to return a number, which is the count, starts at 0,
Mhm.
and we increment count every time this returns true. And so denoting the number of index pairs, so I and j, such that I is less than j. So let's just say this is our string. What we're going to be comparing, this is how we're going to be comparing it. With this for loop right here and this for loop right here, we're starting at index 0, so we're going to be starting with this A, And since the
Mm-hmm.
internal loop is starting at I plus 1, we're going to start, J is going to be there. So it's going to be I and J. So this is going to be word 1. This is going to be word 2, or string 1 and string 2 on the first iteration. So we have 0 and 1. But then this internal loop is going to increment by 1. So J is going to move here. And then we're going to compare 0 and 2. And then this internal loop again is going to increment. J is going to move here. And we're going to test 0 and 3. And then now J is all the way at the end of this array right here. So we're actually going to increment, since this internal loop has reached the length, has reached the end of the array, we're actually going to increment this external array. So I is going to increment to 1. J is going to reset to I plus 1. And then we're going to test 1 and 2. Then J is going to increment here. We're going to test 1 and 3. Now since J is at the end of the array, we're going to increment our external for loop. I is now going to be on 2. J is going to start at I plus 1, so 3. And we're going to test 2 and 3. And then J is at the end. I's at the end. And these are the ones we test. But out of these ones that we test, you can see that 0 and 1 is going to return true. 0 and 2 is going to return true. 0 and 3 is going to return true. 1 and 2 is going to return true. 1 and 3 is going to return false. And 2 and 3 is going to return false. And so we're going to increment our counter for these ones here, but we're not going to increment our counter for those there. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that's that. Some of the string problems I think are a little bit harder than some of like the array problems. I think some of the problems that you'd want to start with. So if you want to just really start understanding this stuff, there is this site called, I think it's Neat Code. Yeah, this is a really good one. So courses, and then you can see like this was an easy one. So this is a good starter one. And he has tons of great stuff. He's a really good resources. But you do want to solve problems on your own. I always say stay away from tutorials as much as you can, and try to solve problems and write code as much as you can. The more you're writing code, the better you're gonna get at writing code. You don't want to get stuck in just like watching other people code, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Appreciate. Oh, one more question is the data structures and algorithms. Is that like one of the most important things if you're trying to do back end development, or
I would say data structures and algorithms are important no matter what you're trying to do.
what I'm doing? Okay.
Yeah. Is that what you're trying to do back end?
I think so. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm not really a design type person, so I was thinking that front end may not be. I'm not a creative,
Mm.
type of a person. I'm more of a. I do like to try to work behind the scenes and figure things out, piece puzzles together, break stuff apart. Think through things more. So I guess I'm trying to figure out what which one is best for me.
Yeah.
Or what do I need to start out as front end? Do I have to start out as front end
No, no,
before
no.
you know?
Absolutely not. No. I think it's easier to start off as front end because you get to see things happening and see things changing, and for a lot of people that's pretty impressive when you see the screen changing and you see the visual. But no, absolutely not. So when on Tuesdays and Thursdays when we're building the full scale project, I'm going to be sharing a lot of back end stuff as far as because I'm building the back end with a few other engineers. Fernando's one of them. He's here right now. Aditya and Omar are the other ones, and then so I'm going to be sharing some of the stuff we're doing on the back end, but some of the stuff that happens on the front end too, it's not all a lot of it is not going to be like visual styling type stuff. I'm like you. I don't like the visual style. I don't like the design type stuff. Like, I'll have websites looking like the plainest. I don't want to do any of that styling stuff. Though I will if I have to. You know, I like building business logic. I like back end more than I like front end. But it's nice to know. You know, then you could build a full stack application. You know, so it's nice to know. But I'm with you. I hear what you're saying. You'll definitely learn some of the business logic stuff and fetching data and all that fun stuff too. So you'll be communicating with the back end for sure. And I'll be talking a little bit about how we're communicating with the back end, how it connects, making the requests, and what's happening on the back end too. Just I won't be going like into super deep dives, at least during the front end boot camp. But
Okay.
yeah, where are you out of, Toya?
Say it again.
Where are you out of? Where are you checking in from?
Oh, Atlanta.
Okay, yep.
Atlanta. Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, for those who are not talking, I know Fernando's one of our seniors here. Toya is one of the members for the newbie developer. But for those who are here right now, I see a lot of people who are muted, and on my phone I see red mics, which means you're not subscribed. If you do want to look into the subscriptions we have, feel free to go to the Start Here channel up at the top, click on the Patreon, and that'll bring you right here. You can get the 7-day free trial, and we have events Monday through Friday. So if you look, you can see Mondays we have 2 events, Tuesdays we have 1, Wednesdays we have 2, Thursdays we have 1, Friday we have this one here, and there's a ton of stuff that comes along with it, so you could try it out. But yeah, this is the first time we're doing the data structures and algorithms on Friday. We've been doing Mondays and Wednesdays every week recently, so those are bigger, much more interactive groups. I expect this one to continue to grow and becoming as interactive as our Mondays and Wednesdays, and Tuesdays and Thursdays is actually new now too. So we're growing, we're expanding. We're actually going to be moving from Discord and Patreon to Zoom and Stripe. I'm working on that system right now, and it should be up and running by April 1st. So now is definitely the time to come in, because at that point it's going to be a little pricier to get involved. It's going to be a lot easier, but it's going to be a little bit pricier. So for those who are here who are not members yet, feel free to send me a friend request. I'm pretty active on here. I'm pretty much coding all day, Monday through Friday. So feel free to reach out to me and connect. And if you have any questions, just let me know. You can send me a message directly, or you can send me a message in the Ask for Help channel. Usually in the Ask for Help channel, you get help from other people in the server. But yeah, feel free to send me a friend request and just connect with me as well. And let me know what I can do to help. Cool. Fernando, what are you up to for the rest of the night?
Just continue learning about Spring, and yeah, checking that authorization stuff.
Mm. Okay, cool. Yeah, I like Java, man. I'm most of my experiences with Node and Python, but it's the same thing, I'm building that Java server right now, the authentication server, and it's like it's very similar. I mean, as far as the concepts goes, it's all the same thing. Once you understand the concepts, you could pretty much build a server in any language. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
I like Java though. I really like it so far.
yeah, me too. It was my first programming language. It was tough at first, but yeah, I love it too.
Yeah. hmm It's so different than building a server with Node.js though, because it's like, at least in Node.js, it's all functions. Whereas in Java, it's all classes. and it forces you. Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's sort of a different way of thinking. I had to get used to it, but I really like it. It it's sort of simpler in a lot of ways, but yeah. So
Can
Yeah.
I ask another question a little off topic?
of course.
A little bit. So as a new developer and trying to seek employment, what do you guys recommend as far as building a portfolio? What type of projects would I do you think I need to have, and how many? Like, do you need to have several? Do you need to have a few? Are there certain types of projects I need to be building to showcase? And do you guys ever do any type of career type class, like teaching people how to get their first um, developer job?
Yeah, the industry is wild. Um, it's changed a lot in the last year or two. I know people who worked for Google and worked for Facebooks and those big companies, and they had tons of layoffs recently. So the pool of software engineers is ridiculously high right now. And then the thing I'm hearing from a lot of the big companies is that it's hard for them to find someone who's good. So it's like, man, there's so many people out in the market right now looking for jobs, but they're saying that it's hard to find the developers. But I talked to a couple architects who are higher up at those companies too, and what I hear is that they're transitioning from software engineer, like not really looking for software engineers the way that they were looking for software engineers before, and they're really transitioning their focus to machine learning engineers and people who do that mathematics and data science and those sort of things. So as far as like the promise in the industry goes, I'm curious where it's going to go. You hear about a lot of people saying that there's ebbs and flows. Like sometimes there's a lot of hiring and then they lay people off and then there's hiring again. And it's like, but I'm not positive exactly where it's headed. I know that there are some paths that are very prominent, like iOS, virtual reality, game development, machine learning, data science. Like there's certain paths that are going to be more promising than other ones. But all that being said, I think there's so much opportunity. Me personally, I think that there's so much more opportunity just in solving problems out here in the real world. So like once you have the skills to be able to build systems, full stack engineering where you could build the front end, you could build the back end, you're connected with other developers, you have a strong network, and there's so much opportunity for you to say like, hey, this has always been a problem in my life. Like, what problems do you face every day? If you're facing them, there's other people facing them. And if there's a way for you to build a solution for that, then you could potentially make more money than you could ever make working for a company. We live in this day and age where I feel like that's where things are transitioning right now, because just look around. Just look around. There's so many problems. There's so many problems in the world, and they need solving. Someone has to do it, So I think that's where the opportunity lies right now. But I mean, people are still hiring. It's just tough, You have to be really dedicated, and yeah, it's not easy right now, at least. But I do know people who are still getting jobs. Like there was this guy, John, who was coming to our in-person data structure and algorithm stuff. He ended up getting a job at JP Morgan Chase, and like Google's still hiring engineers. Dennis got a job at Google like a few months back, and but this is someone who also worked at Lyft and Discord before, so he had like tons of experience. So it's like, yeah, it's not easy. You can't expect it to be easy. You got to be willing to work hard. You got to be grinding out. You got to be willing to put in the work. It's not going to be easy, but there's definitely opportunity right now. Yeah. Yeah, I'm more interested. Look, I've been doing sales management and business development since like 2014. From like 2014 to 2021, I was selling solar energy, and I started teaching myself coding in 2017. So there was a 4-year lap from 2017 to 2021, where I was in sales management, training teams, hiring, developing, coaching, and I was also coding. And in 2021, a few years back, that's when I kind of left it entirely. I was still doing some sales and business development up until more recently, but my experience is in sales management, business development, leadership, that sort of thing. And so, if there's anything I could do to help people, it would definitely be teaching people business development, creating like sales pipelines, marketing pipelines, and actually creating businesses and helping people get set up that way. I personally feel that there's more opportunity that way, and everybody I know who does that, who has their own business, they just seem happier. They seem more fulfilled. They're living for themselves. I remember there were times when I was working for corporations where I was doing like 80 or 90 hours a week, 100 hours a week, and it was like, man, I was just pushed to the limit. And when I left the solar industry, I was like, man, I'm never working that hard for someone else ever again. I work that hard for me and my family, but I'm never working that hard for someone else, for someone else's dream ever again. So if there's anything I can help you do to get set up or do your own thing, I'm your guy for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah. But I will. I see I got a couple messages here, so I'll respond to y'all, and then yeah, the next event. I don't know if Fernando, you're going to be doing the data structure and algorithm competition tomorrow night, Saturday, but feel free to just hop into the co-working space if anyone else wants to do that. We've typically done the data structure and algorithm competition together. Kind of just hop in, everybody mute their microphones, solve the problems, and then everyone unmutes and shares their solutions. Feel free to do that. I will be back on Monday. Monday, I'm teaching a responsive design class. Tuesday, I'm teaching a full stack application class. Wednesday, JavaScript, DOM in the DOM, and web development. Thursday, full stack, and then Friday again, data structures, algorithms. So feel free to pop into any of those events, everybody. Cool,
Nice.
cool.
You mentioned that the co-working space is going to be the space where we are going to meet for the lead code contest.
Yeah, you can meet there if you'd like. I'm just throwing it out there. I won't be there, but I know everybody really loves that. So
Okay.
yeah, feel free to
Thanks.
pop in there. Yeah, for sure. And then if you're curious about any of the events, just go to the top of the server here. I'm posting everything here. The only things I haven't added so far is the full stack on Tuesday and Thursday, but that will be in there this weekend. So you can see all the events up there. But cool, cool. All right, everybody, enjoy your Friday night. I will talk to y'all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.